Hey y'all, it's X, and welcome back to another video. So today, we're going to be doing another mock draft, just one round this time, no trades to keep it simple, but we do have a new draft order, and this should be like the solidified top 10 draft order unless trades happen before the draft, and we're really just waiting to see like the playoff teams, where all these teams are going to be placed at. But remember to leave a like and sub if y'all mess with the content, and let's jump right in here. So, we have the Titans at number 1 here. I do think that they go quarterback, and I think it's going to be Cam Ward. To keep it simple, I think that they're just going to go with the higher upside quarterback. I know it's interesting to think about with like this is also somewhat my thought process too, and over the coming weeks we're going to experiment with this, and maybe I'll go Shedeur Sanders next week. But I really do think it is interesting to think about the fact that they've already drafted an upside quarterback in Will Levis. So maybe you don't really have as much faith in your coaching staff in developing him because you already took the high like tools quarterback who needed some work, and that didn't work out, so maybe you go with the more sure thing. So that's also a thought process that I have. But either way, I am gonna go with Cam Ward here. We're just gonna assume that I've heard reports that they really like him, so that's gonna be the pick here. And I do think that if Cam Ward goes number 1, I do think there is a more likely chance that the Browns would take Shedeur Sanders than Cam Ward. I think the Browns are under the impression that they are a QB away. And I can't really disagree with that. Like, the Browns' defense is really good. They have a horrible offense, so their defense is always on the field. But last year, like, they were a generational defense when they had Joe Flacco, who was keeping the offense afloat. Like, they were a generationally good defense who didn't really get talked about as much because the Ravens were also an amazing defense, and they were a better team, I guess. But either way, I think the other thing with Shedeur Sanders to the Browns is some people, for whatever reason, believe that Deion Sanders is just going to say no. And I think there's two things that are just fundamentally wrong with that. This is not Eli Manning that we're talking about with Shedeur Sanders. I think Deion is very much smart enough to know that, like, his son is not that good of a prospect. Like, I'm sure he believes his son is a very good player. But also, I think Deion is also smart enough to know that, like, the best thing for his career is to just to not make teams worry about daddy always being in his corner over there and having to keep him happy as well as Shedeur, right? So I do think that, and by the way, Deion hasn't said anything about vetoing teams to take Shedeur. Like, he came out and said that he hasn't done that. People are just kind of making that up, and that's now just become the consensus for whatever reason. But that's a long way to say that I'm going to take Shedeur Sanders at 2. However, next week, if I take Sanders at 1, I don't think the Browns are going to take a project quarterback at 2. I think Cam Ward has really, 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 really good, like, translatable things that are going to make him a good quarterback, but he also has a lot of work to do. I think his pocket presence is, I think coming into the league, it's going to be among the best of the quarterbacks, and that's something that translates to every elite quarterback in the league. Like, your Jordan Loves, I'm only listing him as an elite quarterback just because that's an elite trait that he has. But, like, your Aaron Rodgers, elite pocket presence there when he was in his prime. Jordan Love, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, all these guys have very, very good pocket presence, and that's what makes them such good players, is that they know where the defense is, and they're able to make plays and keep plays alive because of that. But I think Cam Ward has the issue of holding onto the ball too long. I'm not sure how I feel about a lot of his processing. I think there's a lot of times at Miami where you can literally just see, like, he has good movement, like foot movement, but also he also just has plays where he's just literally standing in the pocket because it's Miami's offensive line. They're very, very talented. And he can literally just stand still in the pocket and just take 8 seconds to throw the ball. It's just not going to happen in the league. So I think the processing needs to speed up, but I think that's why if Ward goes 1, Sanders would go 2 to the Browns. But I also don't think the Browns will trade up for Sanders. It's more of a if he slips to us kind of thing. But either way, very, very long segment there in the first 2 picks. But the Giants here at 3, I think this would be my dream scenario, is getting the best player in the class here in Travis Hunter. I would love to see Travis Hunter in New York. Going into the year, I didn't think that we were going to have a chance at getting him. And I think if we had the number 1 pick, we were going to take a quarterback. So that's why I was just like, we just probably won't end up getting him. I do think there's a conversation to be had that if Drew Allar ends up rescinding his idea of returning to school and comes out because he could be the first quarterback off the board, and he's available here at 3, I would 100% be okay with the Giants taking Drew Aller here. So that's also a thought, but obviously he's not going to be in this draft yet because he hasn't decided to declare. But more on Travis Hunter, we need corner. We also could use receiver. I think this is a perfect scenario for Travis Hunter because we need him to play corner, right? He could be our corner 1. And I do think that he would also be a pretty good fit for this team as well. But also, I do think that offensively, he could just slide in certain sub packages. Like, we're probably going to let Darius Slayton go in the offseason if I had to guess. I just highly doubt we re-sign him because we have Jalen Hyatt, who we drafted, and is waiting to get his opportunity. Like, he is the next guy up. But I think having somebody next to Neighbors on the outside, that would be Travis Hunter to me in certain packages. So I really like that idea here. Patriots at 4, there's a couple different avenues that we could go with them. Again, we're not doing trades. Everybody that I've talked to, including my family, who are very big Patriot fans, they really, really want to tackle. I would love to go Josh Simmons this high because I think he is that talented, and he is probably the one guy in this class that I trust to stick at tackle. And be elite there, I guess. And they really need a left tackle. I think you can keep on Wainu at right tackle. You really want him as a guard, though. That's the thing. So it really gets difficult. You probably don't want to go Kelvin Banks this high or Will Campbell. You're not going to go interior, obviously. Receiver's an option. I've experimented with Tetairoa McMillan a couple of times. But I think defensively, you do need edge rusher. And I think Abdul Carter is the best edge in this class. I can't wait to make my big board kind of at the end of the year. Abdul Carter is going to be high. I'm going to tell you that right now. I didn't believe in him going into the year. I didn't think that the transition to edge was going to be as good as people thought it was, and I was terribly wrong. And I'm glad to admit that because I want to see these players succeed. So I'm very, very happy that I was wrong about that. And he's an incredible edge rusher. Jacksonville at 5. I've done this a couple of times now. You have Mason Graham on the board. You also have Will Johnson on the board. I think it's between those two Michigan players for me, honestly. I am going to go Will Johnson here. I do think that he is still my best player in the class. Like, I know I just said that to Travis Hunter, but Will Johnson to me is the best at his position in the class. Like, if you are just grading off of who is the best at their position out of everybody in this class, I think Will Johnson is clearly the best corner in this class. Like, I've said Travis Hunter has an argument, and he does, but that's really more like because Will Johnson has injury concerns. But Travis Hunter, I won't say he has injury concerns, but like, he has a lot of wear and tear because of how much he played in college. But either way, pick 6 here for the Raiders. We're going to go Tetairoa McMillan. They just need to bolster that offense, honestly. They just don't have a lot of talent. It's now just Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker, I believe, and that's kind of it. Jets here at 7. You're probably really, really happy that Mason Graham fell into your laps here. I think tackle is also something to consider because Tyron Smith injured again as always. You do have Olu Fashanu to play right tackle now, so Morgan Moses you can move off of and let Olu start next year. And if you want to get your left tackle, I'm really honestly willing to experiment with that here at pick 7. I think Mason Graham is more of a luxury pick, to be honest. I think he's the more talented player, and that's why you would go with him to play next to Quinnen Williams and put him in an ideal scenario where I've said multiple times that Mason Graham is probably need a better D-tackle 2 than a 1. I think he could be an elite second D-tackle to have on your team and just have him play next to somebody elite. I think I am going to experiment with Kelvin Banks, though. I've had him go to the Niners a lot. Let's switch it up for once, and we're going to go tackle here for the Jets, who do honestly need it. That means Mason Graham is going to fall to the laps of the Panthers here at 8. I know I've said that. I want them to go offense, to be honest, because I just want them to continue to help Bryce Young. Like, he's clearly developing into an elite quarterback, and it's really, really fun to see. But I also want to see you continue to build around that. And I get it, the defense doesn't have a lot of talent, so you might look to that in... I do think this is a better defensive class than it is offensive, which is why I would just want to take these top offensive players now and get some decent ones still later in the draft, but I digress. Saints here at pick 9. Sucks you can't get Tetairoa McMillan. Sucks you can't get Mason Graham. This is a really interesting position to be in because they need edge rusher. I would love Mason Graham to this team, to be honest, because I think Brian Brzez's biggest weakness is that he isn't a good run defender. He's a very good pass rusher now, but he's not a good run defender. So I think getting somebody who's good against the run would be really, really nice to pair with him. Maybe we look to do that on day 2. But obviously that's not going to be in this mock draft. Receiver, I just don't really see it with any of these guys going this high now. I don't think this team is in the market for grabbing a tight end in the first round. I think tackle's a thought. I think I am going to go with Will Campbell here. I didn't really think I would be going with him this high, but I think the edge rushers you could go with for sure. Like Nick Scorton, I would say probably fits this team and what they want best. You could also go Mikael Williams with that same idea with the tools, I guess, but I don't know. I think I like Will Campbell just as an offensive lineman more. You can try him at either tackle because you know Talise Fuaga can play either side. But you can also kick him to guard, which is also another position of need. The Bears here at 10, offensive line's off the board. You do need edge. I really want to experiment with Ashton Genty. I know you have DeAndre Swift, and he's a good running back, but also he isn't the best running. Like he's a better receiving threat, and I think with how Ashton Genty has been kind of less utilized in the receiving game, like you could still keep those two as a combo and be happy with it. But I think I am going to go edge rusher for them because I do think that's the smarter thing to do, and I am going to go with Mikael Williams. I think he's probably the best fit next to what's his name, Montez Sweat. I think the Bears would probably be able to develop somebody like him really nicely. San Francisco here at 11, I'm going to go with Nick Scorton. We're probably just going to see a run on edge rushers because I think this is where they would probably go. I know you guys know how much I love James Pierce. I just don't think he fits what they want. I think Nick Scorton being like the bigger body is kind of a better fit to this team than anything. Cowboys here at 12. This is the perennial Ashton Genty spot. I just don't think the Raiders would go with him all the way here at 6. I don't think it's smart for them to do so. I think Tedero McMillan and then getting a running back on day 2 if you don't get a quarterback, that's probably your best bet. But yeah, Ashton Genty might just be the pick to the Cowboys until the draft actually happens. They just need running back. Rico Dowdle had a good season. That doesn't stop you from drafting a running back, though. Like, he's not some incredible player. He's fine. But, yeah. That's going to be that, I guess. I don't really have too much to say about that at this point. Miami Dolphins here, pick 13. There's a lot that you could do with them. I think safety is a thought here with Malachi Starks. I think interior is a thought for them. I think you could go receiver for them if you think Tyreek Hill is going to get traded. They also need tackle, but are we going like an Ariante Ursary here? A Josh Simmons? Not really sure. I don't know. There is a lot to think about here. I do think that I think the best bet would be going interior for them. Derek Harmon did declare for the draft, which makes me really happy to see. But I'm going to go with Talik Williams here. I haven't had him go this high, but I just really like his fit to the Dolphins, so I think that they would just go grab their guy because he's not going to be there in round 2. I've had him go in round 2, but I've really liked him in this college football playoff. He has like 9 pressures in 2 games that they've played. I think he's going to be either a back end of the first round pick or he's going to go really high in day 2. I don't know if the Dolphins are going to be able to get him. Colts here at 14, I've had them always just be the safety and then tight end team in the second round, or tight end first round, safety second round. I'm going to mix it up saying go James Pierce. Gus Bradley has finally been fired. We're going to get a DC who can blitz now. It makes me so happy. Let's go James Pierce, somebody who's going to come screaming off the edge. He's great. He's a great athlete, and he really had a better year than I guess people are looking at. He was double teamed a lot. But he started off the year he started off the year slow, but like towards the middle of the season, he really heated up for Tennessee. He was a big part of why this defense actually like kept them in games sometimes when Nico was kind of struggling. But like James Pierce, I think to this team is just really, really good. I think Kwity Paye is more of a run defender, and that's what you would keep him as if you really want to use like James Pierce as a DPR guy. I really have faith in him. I think he's going to be incredible. 15 here for the Atlanta Falcons. We're going to go with Jalen Walker. I honestly think he could go higher than this. Oh, didn't actually click the button. I think Jalen Walker could be somebody who you could put at pick 8 if Mason Graham goes to the Jets. I think Jalen Walker is incredible. I think it's going to be surprising to see where he's going to be at on my big board as I'm kind of planning this out. People are, I don't want to say they're sleeping on him, but I think people still see him as like this hybrid linebacker edge rusher. No, he is an edge rusher, and he has proven that at this point. If you watch the tape, he is like he's very good in pass rushing, but obviously because he is a linebacker, he's actually very, very solid in run defense. And it's not really talked about a lot, but he's a very solid run defender as well. And I think Arnold Ebiketti's taken steps this year, so I think this is just somebody to play next to him. I think those two could really complement each other as well. Pick 16 here for the Cardinals. I'm going to start having D linemen go a little bit higher finally. We're going to go Derek Harmon to this team. I think he's another player who could go pretty high in the first round. I know it's really surprising to see Talik Williams be my interior too, but I really, really like him a lot. But Derek Harmon, another player, he declared for the draft, which made me happy, like I said. Very, very good year for Oregon as well. I think the Cardinals need edge, but I also think if they bring back Baron Browning, you might prioritize interior a little bit more. Bengals here at 17. I think I'm going to stop the fall of Malachi Starks. I just think that that defense is horrible. They fired their DC finally, and Geno Stone was brought in to kind of help that team, but he's been horrible on that contract. You get a better athlete here in Malachi Starks. You can play him in the nickel if you need to. You can play him over the top as a free safety. He's just very versatile and can stop that team from giving up 40 points a game. The reason I had him fall a little bit is two reasons. The NFL doesn't value safety as much. That's one. And number two is he is having not a down year, but he's having a stretch of kind of not bad games, but Georgia's knocked out now, so we're not really going to see more of him, but there are some questions to be raised. It's concerning me when we saw Cam Kinchens last year, not in the same way, because Cam Kinchens was showing okay, he actually has some concerns as an athlete. Malachi Starks is more just is he as much of an elite safety prospect as we are saying he is? I still think he could go first round. However, with that bad stretch of games and the NFL not valuing safety as much, there's a chance that we just see the same thing that happened to Brian Branch when he was an elite player, and he just slips to round two. The only reason someone like Kyle Hamilton even went in the first round is because everyone throughout the year was projecting him to be a top 5 pick, and he still slid to the Ravens at 14, which was lower than anyone thought he was going to go. So I rest my case with that, but I think it's a safety desperate team like the Bengals would probably stop the fall. Pick 18 here for Seattle. I think that I'm going to go offensive line for them. Do I continue to go Jonah Savania here? Savania? I think it's Savania. I think I'm going to continue to make that pick. I just really like the fit here. If not here, I would actually send him to the Texans if he didn't go here, to be honest, because the Texans do need guard very badly. I've given the reasoning to why I put him here as many times. They need tackle and guard, the Seahawks do. They need tackle in case Abe Lucas gets hurt. They need guard right now. You can start him at guard early. If Abe Lucas goes down, he goes out to tackle. Very simple. Texans here at 19. I think I'm going to make the Luther Burden pick again. I just feel really bad for Tank Dell, but the rest of the receiving room isn't healthy either, so you just need more people in that room, and an elite short route guy. That's kind of the word I'm looking for. And Luther Burden out of the slot, that's going to be something that's really going to help CJ Stroud get back into elite conversations. Pick 20 here for the Buccaneers. I'm going to make the pick that I've made a couple times for these kind of linebacker, edge needy teams. We're going to go Jahad Campbell. Honestly think he could go higher than this as well. I considered him at 15, but I needed to get Jalen Walker off the board. He's just another player who very, very talented. I've already explained the story of how he was a linebacker for Alabama, but he was actually coming out of high school. He was an edge rusher, so he has the chops to play edge. And I think he could probably be a hybrid. He could just be better than what Devin White was for them, but he can actually go play edge rusher, and they are going to need that. Broncos here at 21. I'm going to finally take a tight end off the board because they are falling here. We're going to go Tyler Warren. I've already explained how it's my dream fit. I love the fit with Sean Payton and getting his better version of Taysom Hill. I really, really like this. Pick 22 for the Steelers here. I understand that the Steelers need a receiver. I just think I would rather go with one on day 2. I don't really like the fit of Emeka Egbuka, who I have more confidence in him playing in the outside than other people do. But I don't really know if that's actually going to be the case. I think he might be a better slot option. And I think when you see Calvin Austin playing as well as he has been, when you see that you drafted Roman Wilson, I think Calvin Austin with his size should honestly be a slot guy. That's why I'm saying that. I just think that Emeka might not be what this team needs. So I think you could honestly consider a running back here with Amari Hampton, Caleb Johnson. I think you consider probably corner as well. I do like Siobhan Ravel to this team. I like Trey Amos to this team. I've made these picks a couple of times. I also like Azariah Thomas to this team. I'm not seeing him, but Darian Porter, whoever he is, I do like that fit as well. But I think I'm going to go Azariah Thomas today. Let's show some love to him. I've been doing that a lot recently to the Packers, but let's go with Azariah Thomas to the Steelers. I think it's a good player next to Joey Porter. 23rd here for the Rams. We are going to stop the fall of Josh Simmons, who I think could honestly go higher than this. But just the injuries, man. If he didn't have that season-ending injury, I'm throwing him at pick 4 to the Patriots and not even asking any questions. I'd honestly put him at pick 1 or 2. Like, he is that good of a tackle prospect. I can't wait to dive into him in the offseason. All right, Green Bay Packers here at pick 24. There's a lot that we could go with. I've honestly wanted to experiment with receiver to them. I don't think they desperately need it, so I'm not going to do it. But like Emeka Egbuka could be an interesting player to this team. I'm not going to lie. They don't need another slot guy, but if you think he can play on the outside, it's interesting. You could go corner here. Siobhan Ravel, Trey Amos. I love the Azariah Thomas pick, but he's off the board. Man, I think that I would probably just go with Siobhan Ravel. I've heard that's actually pronounced Savone Ravel, as Bengal has said. He said he follows him on Twitter. He should just ask him. But he's also heard that it's pronounced Savone. It's not Siobhan. It is Savone Ravel. So I think that's actually how we're going to say it. But it is Savone Ravel out of ECU. Again, another season-ending injury guy like Ben Morrison, who I am going to have returning in this mock. He isn't declared yet. I think it's just smart for him to return and be a top 5 pick next year. But either way, Packers need corner, and I really like the Ravel pick here. Chargers at 25. I'm going to switch it up with them for once. We have gone tight end for them for ages. I know Colson Loveland is like the guy here. And if he's on the board, I'm very much prepared for Harbaugh to take his guy. But I want to switch it up here. I want to go Amari Hampton. I don't think you can rely on the injury concerns of J.K. Dobbins. He was great for them this year, but man, even if J.K. Dobbins is healthy, that's your power back, and Amari Hampton, you honestly mix and match them. I think Amari Hampton does have an element of power to his game more than like elusiveness. I think he has very good contact balance as well. But I do think that somebody like J.K. Dobbins could either complement him or you just be prepared to let him go. Washington here at 26. This is where I'm going to stop the fall of Emeka Egbuka. Please get more weapons for Jaden Daniels. He has made the most out of a very mediocre situation there in that offense, where Cliff Kingsbury's done miracles to like scheme him into making good plays. And this is not like a slight to Jaden Daniels. Y'all knew he was like my QB2 last year, and I really wanted to put him QB1, but I didn't want to fall into the same fatigue that everybody had with Caleb Williams. It's like, oh, is Drake May the best quarterback in this class? No, it really was Caleb Williams, and I still think he is. But Emeka Egbuka could actually go play in the slot for this team. You have Terry McLaurin on the outside, and then you basically have Olamide Zaccheaus and Jamison Crowder. Yeah, Emeka Egbuka can run laps around both of those guys, both literally and like figuratively. And this is just another strong target for Jaden Daniels. Ravens here at 27. Tempted to go Cam Williams, but I don't really want to put him at left tackle. Tempted to go Walter Nolan on the interior, just best player available. Same thing with like Kenneth Grant. I think Kenneth Grant would be the better fit for this team. But I'm going to go Shamar Stewart for them. I did this pick last week, I believe, in that 2-round mock draft. And I'm really a big fan of it. I think he's a good fit for this defensive line. and he wouldn't be like an edge rusher in their 3-4, but like somebody who plays in the defensive line and can really be a game wrecker down there. I honestly think he has that potential with his athleticism. Eagles here at 28. We're going to go Colson Loveland. It's honestly magical that a tight end fell to them at this pick. Like, it really would have been 25 to the Chargers, but I really just wanted to mix it up this week, get Amari and Hampton in there. But like, the Eagles, I have a hard time drafting for them, man, because they need a tight end, but they're just not in the conversation for being able to get a Tyler Warren or Colson Loveland. Colson Loveland, very good receiving option, also a underrated blocker. I don't think he's a bad blocker at all. I think he's very solid there, so the Eagles would make wonders out of that pick, honestly. Pick 29 here for the Buffalo Bills. I've loved Jahad Campbell here. He's gone, sadly. I'm going to experiment with a new pick here, and we are going to go with... Is he listed at safety? Yes, he is. We're going to go Jahdae Barron out of Texas. Or I think it's Jahdae. I think it's Jahdae Barron. So, we're going to go I almost said it again. Jahdae Barron out of Texas. Could play on the boundary for this team. Very, very similar to like a Rasul Douglas. I think this is probably the best scheme for him to go play on the boundary. I don't know if he goes this high, but he is one of the best defensive players in the country. Whether that is at corner, whether that is at Texas, whether that's at safety or corner, or even in the nickel. I think Jahdae Barron can be an impact player wherever you put him. So if he doesn't work on the boundary, where I think, like I said again, this is the best situation for him to do so, I think you could put him in the nickel. I think you could put him as a safety, which the Bills also kind of need. So I think this is just going to be a good pick for this team. You can look edge rusher in day 2 if needed. Minnesota Vikings here at 30. We're going to go... I want to go corner for them, but I just don't really like the fit. Like maybe Trey Amos or Darian Porter would be the guy. But I think I'm going to skip out on corner. We're going to go interior because they're just so great here. We're going to go Kenneth Grant. Definitely should be a first-round player. I probably could have put him over Derek Harmon. I just like the fit a little bit better for that team. Of Derek Harmon over Kenneth Grant. I think Kenneth Grant would just replace what Michael Pierce was doing for them a couple years ago. So, really, really like that. Detroit here at 31. I'm going to throw... I've done JT Tuimoloau a couple times. I'm going to throw Landon Jackson here. I don't know if he goes first round, but I think he fits the profile of edge that they're looking for. Just a big, powerful guy. I think I like Jack Sawyer and JT as well to this team, but I'm just not going to go that high for Jack Sawyer. And I've done JT a couple of times, so we're going to mix it up again and go with something new. And the Chiefs here at 32. Man, I can't believe Cam Williams is falling this far. I'm just not the biggest Cam Williams guy. I think Walter Nolan is a really, really interesting pick for this team, but I am going to go Trey Amos, and that's going to end the mock. Trey Amos, they just need somebody next to Trent McDuffie, and I honestly really like Trey Amos' game. But that's going to be the mock. Let me know how you guys feel about this. How did I do for your favorite team? Yeah, like I said, we're going to see how this draft order plays out. We're really just waiting for like a lot of these playoff teams to get their final seeding, and then we can finally start doing like accurate mock drafts, but I really like how this one came out. I think my favorite pick would probably be... the easy one is like Tyler Warren, but I think underrated Jahdae Barron to the Bills. I just think that's a really good fit. I really want to see him on that team, to be honest. But remember to leave a like and sub if y'all mess with the content, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.